On Capitol Hill, Republican Ron Paul, Democrat Barney Frank teaming up to introduce legislation tomorrow that would end the federal prohibition on marijuana. The legislation by the unlikely pair would allow states to determine their own marijuana laws without federal interference. It's being billed as a bipartisan piece of legislation, but Congressman Paul is the only Republican co-sponsor. A spokesman for Congressman Barney Frank wants to emphasize that the measure is not a legalization bill, even though that would be, of course, its effect. Massachusetts politics are... We're back with the Lou Dobbs Tonight A-Team, and let me just turn to you. I'll start with you, Michael. Ron Paul, Barney Frank have combined to introduce legislation on decriminalizing marijuana. Is that a really bright move for a presidential hopeful?
Well, I think anything Ron Paul can do will probably lift his chances because he has none. So I don't think this is going to hurt him, let's put it that way. But on the logical field, I don't understand what they're doing. I mean, given the problems we had, given the debt issues, given the war issues, this seems the wrong time to be fiddling around the edges with something like this.
Well, this would at least keep Barney Frank from having to dwell on Dodd-Frank legislation and the backlash against it.
Himself. Well, I think he's going to, don't you think that they're going to lock up, Ron Paul's going to lock up that marijuana vote? They're going to love him.
Chris, your read, if you will, on this, I'm going to do it again, this joint effort.
The joint subcommittee on marijuana legalization.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, look, for Ron Paul, the point is he is running 100% as exactly what he is, which is a full-blown, full-fledged libertarian. You remember at our debate in South Carolina, he actually managed to get applause and cheers for talking about legalizing heroin in South Carolina, not a place where people are really into drug legalization. He's going to stick to this principle. And what Paul is doing is different than somebody like Newt Gingrich, say, who thinks that he had a chance at one time or another to be the nominee. Ron Paul is running as an idea as much as he is a candidate and trying to hold on to the libertarian orthodoxy.
And what is John Huntsman running as?
Better than the field. He is running as somebody who is disdainful of the political process, and I have yet to observe that to ever work. People do not wish to be disdained, they wish to be courted.
Yes, and particularly when you're serving so many masters as has John Huntsman, that is, of course, President Obama as his ambassador to China, and as a Republican governor of the state of Utah, as an ambassador to Singapore. For a fellow who is above politics, he seems to be immersed in it, doesn't he?
Well, but I thought it was also interesting. What place, what locale did he choose to announce his presidency? The same picture that we saw with Ronald Reagan, with the Statue of Liberty behind him when Reagan was, you know, triumphing over the defeat of communism.
So John Huntsman is a conservative Republican. I didn't know that.
He actually worked for Reagan. He was in the Reagan White House.
Right.
And you would style him as a conservative Republican?
I don't really think so, but I think that that's the visual image he wants you to take away.
Well, what did you take away from it all, Michael?
Well, he strikes me as a man who's sort of out of his time right now. It doesn't feel like the right time for what he's offering. I feel like sort of the arguments, the logistics of campaigning have all passed him by. He's, you know, when you go into the diplomatic corps, when you agree to work for a president of the other party and then you praise him, I mean, that is a certain figure in Washington lore, but that is not a candidate for a party as president. And so I just don't see him gaining any traction.
Conservative candidates, it seems there are now only, well, two likely who would prevail given this move tonight by Congressman Ron Paul. We're left with Michelle Bachmann and Herman Cain as the conservative candidates in this field, correct?
Yeah.
And Santorum.
And Rick Santorum. Fair enough. Thank you, Chris Darwell, Michael Goodwin, KT McFarland. Thank you all.